Welcome to the Dingus Den.
Welcome to the Dingus Den for a new episode of the Comic Club, where this time I'm joined by special guest Jules from the Socks On or Off podcast, as well as one half of the Comic Cons. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, buddy. Man, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on. I love the detail we were just talking about. I love the detail you put into everything, and Castro really recommended you to be on, or for me to be on your show. So it's an honor again, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, shout out to Castro for helping make this happen. Something that, since I've watched your and Castro's Comic Cons, I've really enjoyed hearing you all talk about stuff. And so it'd be like, I'd love to have you on. And Castro, I know, was like, hey, you should get Jules on your thing. So here we are to finally talk about
Yeah,
this.
man.
And so, and this is a pretty good pick too. I sent you a list of stuff to pick out from, and I'm really happy about the one you picked out because this is one that I was wanting to check out when it came out, and I just didn't. And so I'm glad that I finally had the excuse to have read it now.
For sure. Yeah.
And so, that big Universal Monsters Dracula, which I was very pleased by. I heard really good things about it going into it, and I'll say I was not disappointed. I really enjoyed it. What about you?
Yeah, man. I mean, when I first started looking at it, it was a different type of illustration as the pictures, right?
Right.
Okay, so it was just a different type of illustration because with it seemed more like a oil pastel type of
Hmm.
comic. Like everything looked a little melted. It looked like it was crayon,
Right.
and it gave it to me. It gave it more of a like a sinister feel, especially when Brenfield was like just eating the flies. I'm just
Hmm.
like, man, how much emotion is being put into this comic just by the pictures. I'm feeling this book rather than just experiencing it. If that makes sense.
Right. I'll say for me, a lot of the times when I read a comic, it's usually the writing sticks out more than the art. However, this was one of those few comics to where the art stood out more to me than the writing. And
Hmm.
it's the art throughout this whole comic is really honestly just amazing, right? It's the closest that I sort of like I guess equate it to, even though it's not as crazy, is kind of like what you get in Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
Serious House on a Serious Earth, I believe, is the full title. And so, you get some beautiful moments though as well, and so lots of amazing art in this.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Shout out to the artist here, Martin Simmons. He did an absolutely amazing job with all of this, and it's also written by James Tinian. Uh, you know, Big comic writer. He's done all sorts of other stuff. However, I think it's before we do get into the story, I do want to mention that this is based from the Universal Monsters movie. The original one that came out in like 1931. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, and so whenever I was actually trying to figure out exactly who's who in this story, just to make sure I got the names right, uh,
Hmm.
I, I actually went through like a synopsis of that old movie just to be like, okay, that character's that, okay, I know who that character's
Yeah.
got it, and so that definitely helped. But
See, I don't know if you saw the. It's not really new, but it's a newer movie called Renfield, and
yes,
it's about. So
yes,
that's how I knew of Renfield and I mean, of course, everybody knows Dracula, but that's how I knew of Renfield and like the power that he has. But
right,
that movie was amazing.
it was
So
fun.
I'm really looking for. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and then it seems like the gore is going to be there, especially hearing how he killed all them soldiers. So I think it's gonna be great, man. But I'm gonna have to definitely try to find the 1931.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a lots of exciting stuff here, but I guess without further ado, we could just go on into this story here.
Perfect.
Uh, and so, anyway, Ilya begins, as we were just talking about with Renfield. Ilya begins with Renfield as he's like taking these little bugs and then just eating them. Talks about how it makes him stronger to help serve his master. He's explaining this to Dr. John Seward as Seward he's asking about why not bigger creatures, and then Renfield's like, no, 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 your blood isn't mine to take. Your blood belongs to my master. And then Seward is just there, like, left confused. Right?
Like, who is this master, by the way, man?
Who are you talking about? Why is this guy eating bugs? He's just
Right.
thinking there that Renfield's crazy. But yeah. But anyway, right after that, it cuts to the title page where you just get this amazing, like, 2-page, art spread here, like, it's your title page, but it's absolutely amazing artwork done there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we then cut to Dr. John Seward as he's now talking with John Harker. They're talking about all the clues, including, like, the 14 dead sailors. They also talk about Renfield, how he eats the flies and spiders, and how he keeps on painting this strange picture. Then Seward comes to the conclusion that, well, he can cure Renfield if he finds a way to, like, replace his blood. And so
Right.
John bites back here. You can feel a little bit of tension here as he disagrees on, like, well, should he really be cured? There's this guy that supposedly, like, a murderer, right? Since he's, like, found on this only person found on this boat where there's all these sailors killed, right? And so,
Right.
but then it's interesting because Seward's there and he's like, wait, but he's my patient. I don't want to. Well, he's my patient. I want to cure him. That's my job, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
I find it a very interesting dynamic there that they have.
Yeah.
So, anyway, next scene, we then get to meet Mina, who is Seward's daughter, and Lucy, who is Mina's best friend. They talk a little bit about what's going on, giving more clues as to what's going on with this whole situation. Including like, oh, the captain's throat was ripped open by something with teeth. And it's also like Lucy also has some sort of fascination with Renfield as well. And so, and then we have this moment where she looks out the window and then sees this man just staring right back at her. And then we get this amazing piece of art where it's like this. To me, it seemed like some sort of vision, sort of like foreshadowing, like Dracula biting her.
Fighting. Yes.
It was really
And
crazy
I
too.
thought, right, and I thought that was really cool because the art of like persuasion or hypnosis really gives it a romantical thing
Oh yeah.
because you see like in the older movies how Dracula's more romantic, women are drawn to him,
Oh
and
yeah.
even with that I feel like it is a more deeper desire because of how much she fantasized about. I mean, you remember one of the lines she was like, "Ooh, I wish somebody would bite my neck open" or something like that. So I feel like it just plays on that
It
desire,
really
and it
does.
like, yeah, it gives you like, the intentions of Dracula, but you also feel like the deep compassion that is going forth in this vision. So it's
Right.
really dope.
Yeah, that was awesome. I just also love the whole thing of detail for me is that there's all these like little red petals everywhere, and
Hmm.
I really like that throughout the whole thing. And that for me, a little personal connection with it is yeah, I played through Diablo 4, and like there's this whole thing in it to where anytime you go through a vision, there's like these blood exact same sort of red petals, and so like
Hmm.
it just works that way. I really liked how
Right.
that all came together.
Exactly. Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
dope.
beautiful piece of art there. Like I said, the art in this issue is just absolutely amazing. Anyway, back to after that, we then see like this wolf howl, and then we see Renfield at in his cell to where he's then saying like, "Oh, I can hear my master." And then there's this security guard that comes by. He's like, "What are you up to? Like, just don't do that. Be quiet."
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Renfield is just talking about, "Oh no, it's the master's time. He'll feast on this dock city." And so then that's when we get this sequence of this lady walking alone. There's this wolf that comes to like confront her, and then it transforms into Dracula and just bites her, feasts on her, and then you just see him turn into a bat and fly away. We then cut to the
By
next.
far.
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're
By
okay.
far, probably my favorite scene, or favorite pages, however people say it,
It was
because
quite
I'm
amazing.
a I'm a fan of Teen Wolf, right? and in Teen Wolf they have like red eyes for like the alpha, but they also can like not really hypnotize, but like see into people's eyes or whatever.
Mhm.
And I feel like with this new series of Dracula, it gave a different spin. I'm not sure if he ever turned into a wolf. I thought it was always bats, but I love how it was like a different animal that is more like a wolf will stalk its prey. A
Right.
wolf will hunt it for miles, and I just feel like that was dope. How he used that form of animal to stalk his prey. He said
Right.
Renfield said he's going to feast, and no better hunter than the wolf. So I really thought that was unique
Right.
that they made him a wolf, and vampires are not normally portrayed as that.
Yeah, to my knowledge, I want to read the original Bram Stoker Dracula. That's been on my list for a long time that I've wanted to read, and I know that the movie that this is based from that. And
Okay.
so I'd imagine that this would be closer to the original tale than not. But obviously you're having your variations because, you're talking about this is adapted from a movie that's adapted from the original works.
Right.
So, but anyway, yeah, I really do agree though. It was a great scene, right? And it's so artistic the whole time too, because you get this
Hmm.
amazing like 2-page spread there as you sort of see him like turn from the wolf to Dracula to bite, the the innocent person on the street, right? And so it
Right.
was just a great sequence, a great what a great way to sort of tell the story in like one huge page and kind of in a way be like one big picture that you're
Hmm.
reading, because it's like you see the wolf turn into Dracula all in one picture and then bite her all in the same page, and it was just amazing. It's one of those things where it's like that it could be the best page of the book. Like that was
Yeah.
amazing.
And didn't like the next page or something have him turn back into the bat, but he had like longer ears or so? I don't know. There was one
He
that
did
he was
turn
like,
into the bat, yeah.
okay, that was yeah. Everything about it was really dope. I agree. That could be the best
It was
sequence in the
awesome.
book.
It was awesome. But yeah, after that, it goes to the next morning where we see Seward as he walks by like this old abandoned building. Uh, as he leaves, we see like this little like red glow from it. Then we then see him starting to interrogate Renfield about the sort of like freak out that he had last night. Renfield is saying stuff like his master grows more powerful and he can feel his mind now, and now that is his time to feast. Seward asks about, well, why is now the time to feast? And Renfield's just like, well, I've been. Renfield responds with, he's just been waiting for you. Saying all sorts of weird stuff like that, almost like a threat, right?
Hmm.
Anyway, Renfield starts going then like crazy, envisioning sort of like bugs go sort of everywhere. Threatening sort of Seward, saying that like he'd like the color that his master would bring to this world. And so then at this point, Seward reveals his intention about taking his blood and replacing it, and then that sort of just makes Renfield completely freak out and try to attack Seward. And we then cut away to where we then see that same old building from before, where we see this coffin where Dracula's in it, and he's just hearing Renfield's plea for help here. Like, help me, master, they're torturing me, or whatever he says there. And then
Yeah. Don't let
Dracula.
them do this to me.
Right, exactly. And the issue just ends here where we see Dracula just wake up in his coffin there. I guess ready
And
for
the
revenge.
right the deep reds they really like the black and reds that they use in this comic really just draws you in.
Right.
Like the contrast, like yeah, the deep colors, and then it's a deep red, but I don't know. I just you guys have to check it out. I don't know. The color scheme in this was really cool too. From the petals, from the eyes to the wolf's eyes. I
Yeah.
think all of it was great.
Oh
And I
yeah.
love how they made Brentfield like he looked he didn't look like a vampire, but he looked like a zombie-ish, with like the droopy white face, the
Oh
dark
yeah.
eyes, and I just really they did really well.
Yeah, they did a very unique sort of style with him that definitely made him feel different than everybody
Mm,
else.
yeah,
Especially some panels where they're not, that kind of makes him look kind of unhuman, not really like a human that much. Especially in that
right.
one scene where he sort of like freaks out. It
Hmm.
he was drawn really uniquely there, and so that was really cool.
I
Uh,
agree.
yeah, yeah. I thought overall though this was a really good adaptation. It makes me want to go back and watch all of the movie. Interesting enough, I know the story sort of begins something like closer to like a third of the way through the movie.
Okay.
There's a lot of setup that we didn't see here specifically, and it's sort of talking about the things that sort of like hinted at here as well. Um, because to my understanding, somebody gets brought to Dracula's castle at first. I want to say it's Renfield, so you sort of see like how Renfield gets to this place. I think I could be wrong. Um,
Okay.
and then Renfield gets taken on that boat, and that like Dracula sent him on, and that whole that other building we see is sort of like Dracula's new like estate that he bought, and so that's in I would just say London. I could be wrong. And so, but yeah, point is there's already a bit of other stuff that happened in the story that this was set up from, based on, and so. But I think as for a comic adaptation though, it worked really well because it's
Hmm.
in a point to where it's like, okay, you didn't necessarily need all this setup stuff, right? You already learned about, okay, even though it began a third of the way through the story, you already get, okay, this is, you get a good idea of, well, okay, I know who Renfield is here. Of course, everybody knows who Dracula is, right?
Sure.
Um, the only thing that kind of got me confused a little bit was exactly who's who as far as like, so just some of the naming goes. But even
Hmm.
then, you could tell all the relationships were there too, right?
Yeah.
I really like the way that it sort of cut to when you had the two Johns talking with each other, and Seward talks about his daughter Mina, and then it switches over to Mina and her best friend, right? And so that worked
Hmm.
out well. And
Yeah. And I really enjoyed, like you said, how it started a third of the way through because with Renfield, I mean, he probably wouldn't even tell you he doesn't have an identity. I belong to Master. I belong. So the setup to his past or how he got there to me would be, uh, it wouldn't be worthwhile because he wouldn't even give that story, if
right,
that makes sense. Like even if he was being interviewed, he'd be like, "Nah, it doesn't matter. I'm my master's now."
right,
And the doctor, it kind of hinted like, oh, he may have got this when he was in Transylvania. So it gives you a little idea of, okay, Transylvania, Dracula, it all ties in together. So I
right.
really like how they started right there because it would have been unnecessary because Renfield wouldn't even have brought it up.
Right. It's a great hook point to the story, right? And it has me hooked on like, okay, I need the next one, right? I need it
Yeah.
now. And so I'm definitely looking forward to the rest, and I'm definitely gonna read the rest at some point because this is awesome, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm definitely going to continue the series.
yeah, I just find it great that we're in a day and age to where we have so many different versions or adaptations of this Dracula story, right? We have, I think this year's a great example of it. To where we have a story like Redfield, as you talked about earlier, that's kind of like a more, um, it gets violent at times, but it's more, I'd say, sort of like, comedic, not a different spin on the Dracula story, right?
Yeah.
And then you take something more closer to the Dracula's original story with like, we had that Voyage of the Last Demeter movie, and then we have this that's like based off of the Universal Monsters Dracula 1931 movie, and so
Hmm.
I just find it cool the variety of Dracula content we got, or we just get in general. And this year is such a great example of it that keeps it up. And personally, I've enjoyed everything that's come out with it.
Yeah. I wanted to watch, uh, you said it was the last voyage. That's what it was called.
Voyage of the Demeter, or Last Voyage
Yeah,
of the
voyage.
Demeter.
Yes, I wanted to watch that one. I just haven't yet. It looked really good.
I enjoyed it. Not a great movie, but I enjoyed it.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so,
because I thought Marvel's Nubius was a part of like a Dracula scheme, but I guess he's like his own character, I believe.
Morbius, he's
Yeah.
yeah, he's sort of like his own sort of character. Blade has his sort of own run-ins with Dracula though.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
all in all, just the vampire scene that,
Yeah.
like you said, we're getting is pretty dope. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you don't like Dracula per se, you have the Blades, or you have like a Nubius where he's kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
vampire. So yeah, it's really dope, man. I'm excited to see
Yeah.
the second issue and what all comes from it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it as well. I just if you haven't already, definitely go check this out. Lots of great, like I said, I just can't stop praising the art of this because this is out of, I'd say, this comics art just really stood out to me a lot more than most other comics, at least all that I've read recently, just because of how
Mm-hmm.
unique it is, right? You can tell that it's not drawn like your regular comic. It's just completely different art style that we get the entire time, and I just love it the entire way through, and so I can't
I
stop
agree.
praising that. And good job too to the writer for figuring out a good point in the story to where it can pick up not necessarily right from the beginning, but more closer to like say a third-ish of the way through the story, and to really be able to also be at a point where people knows what's going on. It doesn't feel lost, right? And so
For sure.
and it's so good too to where it's like, okay, maybe I think I'll go back and watch the movie at some point sooner than later. Now, if it'll
Yeah.
be before or after this series is done, I don't know. We'll see.
For sure.
Because I wonder if like I just don't know if that would like ruin some of it for me since I really enjoyed reading this before the movie. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I mean, probably finishing the series, it gives you a good comparison when
Yeah,
you watch the movie, like how well they did or what's different.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
I
So
think I
I
may do
think
that.
I think you'll figure it out.
Anyway, I feel like we covered it pretty well. Do you have any other thoughts on this issue?
Uh, yeah, I thought it was really unique. I mean, again, we'll go back to the art, but there was what, six characters. You have the two men, the two women, um, Dracula and Renfield, and
Yes.
each character, like of course every character is going to look different, but they really are uniquely different.
Hmm.
Like they contrast each other really well.
Yes.
And like we were saying with Renfield, he's the only one that has like that oil pastel face. And then we have the girls who are opposites. I think they had different colored hair, if I'm
Yes.
remembering correctly. But it's like we get a short list of characters, but they have their own personality. They have their own reason to enjoy like the art of them. So I thought that was really cool.
Yes. The girls was like a blonde and a black hair.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just gives you different visual aesthetics. I don't know, I'm a real visual guy, so just even the lighting of the room, um, I don't know. Guys, check it out. So
It's
like I
pretty
don't want
awesome.
to I don't yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm just, you know, doing the most for this comic, but it is really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of the art as well, at the very end too, we had a few pages of like a sketchbook, I think they called it. Yeah, sketchbook. So we got to see some of like the ideas, kind of like early concepts
Yes,
of how the artist was working on this, and early ideas of it, all that. And so those were really cool as well. Shout out
for
to
sure.
that. Always find it cool, especially in a single issue. Like you don't get a lot of background stuff in single issues nowadays too, and
Right.
so that was really cool. Really enjoyed that.
Me too, man.
Yeah, lots of awesome stuff. Anything else?
Oh man, I think we covered it
I
really
think so
well.
as well. I think so as well. Go read it, go check it out, however you can. Where could the
Yeah,
people
for
find you
sure.
at?
Yeah, man. So, Socks On or Off podcast on YouTube, Comic Cons podcast on literally everything because this man is a workaholic. Um, yeah. that's about it. I really
Nice.
Castro is the one with the plugs, but
Yeah.
Socks on or off and Comic Con's podcast, guys. If you want to be my friend on Facebook, that's a thing. I don't know, guys. But yeah, man, that's just
great.
uh,
Great having you
meeting
on.
you all.
Great
Yeah,
having
thank
you
you.
on. And yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time here in the Dingus Den.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching this video. Before you go, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video. See you next time here on the Dingus Den.